The boss Sasha Banks is considered one of the top stars in WWE and possibly the best female wrestler in world right now. Throughout her WWE career she has won several championships, she has had several great matches, and has had several historic moments. Some of these historic moments include being in the first female main event of a WWE pay-per-view, she was in the first Hell in a Cell match, she was the first entrant into the Women's Royal Rumble, she was one half of the first Women's Tag Team Champions. Most Sasha Banks' big historic matches, she unfortunately did not come out with the victory. However, this has not always been the case. In this video we look at Sasha Banks' career that begun on NXT, which took her to Raw where she was involved in several historic matches which then took her to SmackDown where she became one of the top stars in WWE. Stay with us as we rank Sasha Banks' top 10 wins of her WWE career. In 10th place we have ranked Sasha Banks' win against Asuka at the Survivor Series 2020 pay-per-view. This was a Raw vs SmackDown battle, as the two champions battled each other. In summer of 2020, Sasha Banks and Asuka got to battle several times over the Raw Women's title. The two first faced at Extreme Rules, a dodgy finish led to a rematch on Raw when Sasha beat Asuka for the title. Asuka would then reclaim the championship at SummerSlam 2020. These were good matches, but always saw interference from Bayley that lead to unsatisfying finishes. 3 months later this Survivor Series match happened. While the match was rather pointless, it ended up being their best match against each other. This was due to WWE actually letting Sasha be seen as a legit competitor to Asuka, as she was seen as a heel that needed to cheat to beat Asuka 3 months previous. After a very good wrestling match, Sasha Banks managed to defeat Asuka to win the match. Every other match on this list involves a title, so we believe this is Sasha's biggest non-title victory of her career. 9th place we have ranked the 2016 Falls Count Anywhere match for the Raw Women's title with Charlotte Flair defending against Sasha Banks in the main event of Raw in Charlotte's hometown. This took place in November 2016, and was near the end of the classic Sasha Banks vs Charlotte Flair feud which basically saw Sasha win all the title matches on Raw while Charlotte always reclaimed the title at the next pay-per-view. That was the story with this match. Sasha dropped the title 1 month earlier in her hometown to Charlotte in the first ever Women's Hell in a Cell. Sasha got her rematch 1 month later in Charlotte's hometown on Raw. Originally this match begun in the middle of the show, but after a quick count out it got rescheduled as a Falls Count Anywhere match in the Raw main event. The match saw the two battle all over ringside, including Charlotte diving off the announce table on top of the stage. The match ended when Sasha used a railing in the crowd to help make Charlotte tap out to the Banks statement. After the match Ric Flair came out to celebrate with Sasha Banks, which is rather strange to think back on now. Several people have dubbed this as the best ever Sasha Banks vs Charlotte Flair match. 8th place we have ranked Sasha Banks' 4th Raw Women's Championship victory over Alexa Bliss at the 2017 SummerSlam pay-per-view. 2017 was a strange year for Sasha Banks. After having a great 2016, it was clear WWE were not giving Sasha Banks the same push in 2017 with Bayley and Alexa Bliss getting those opportunities instead. WWE were pushing Alexa pretty strong during this time. The original plan was to do Bayley vs Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam, but after Bayley got injured Sasha took her place which made this one a shock. Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks had battled at the previous pay-per-view which was strangely called Great Balls of Fire. The ending allowed the possibility for the feud to continue, but this is something WWE originally chose not to do. The feud had gotten personal over the summer with the two taking legit cheap shots at the other. The match itself saw Alexa tap out to Sasha's Banks statement submission. We included this in our list as this match was the one rare chance of a push for Sasha during this 2-year period, which unfortunately led to nothing again. 7th place we have ranked Sasha Banks' first ever successful solo championship defense against Bayley on the November 6, 2020 edition of SmackDown. It's scary that it took Sasha 6 title reigns for WWE to finally allow her to retain it in a match. But that's what happened here. Bayley even turned it into the storyline for this match. Sasha beat Bayley for the title a few weeks previous and Bayley invoked her rematch for this edition of SmackDown. This was a fantastic match that ended the Sasha vs Bayley feud. Sasha made Bayley tap out to the Banks statement. This was one of the best matches of the Thunderdome era in WWE in our opinion. In 6th place we have ranked Sasha Banks' second ever Raw Women's Championship win in October 2016, as she defeated Charlotte Flair in the main event of Raw in the Staples Center in LA. At this period, it was still a rare thing to see women main event an episode of Raw. WWE hyped this up as a big deal on the night. The match delivered and women's main events became a common thing on Raw and SmackDown from this point onwards. In our opinion this was the best Sasha vs Charlotte match that didn't have a stipulation. The two got to showcase their main moves along with impressive dives. After Sasha refused to stay down, a frustrated Charlotte got put in the Banks statement and tapped out, to give Sasha her second Raw Women's Championship. In 5th place is a match that happened just recently as Sasha Banks along with Naomi won the SmackDown Women's titles in a match at WrestleMania 38 against Carmella and Zelina, Shayna and Natalya, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. What made win a huge one for Sasha is this was Sasha Banks' first ever WrestleMania win. She had lost her previous 6 WrestleMania matches. WWE for this match showcased Sasha as the star of the match, as they gave her a fancy entrance in a Lamborghini. In the match itself, Sasha was the one getting the best offense in and the best spots of the match. After delivering a double team move on Carmella, Sasha got the pinfall to win her 3rd tag title, but more importantly her first WrestleMania win. In 4th place we have ranked Sasha Banks' first ever Women's Tag Team Championship victory alongside her partner Bayley against 5 other teams inside Elimination Chamber in 2019. This match was booked inside the chamber to crown the first ever Women's Tag Team Champions. Sasha Banks and Bayley started the match alongside Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. These 2 teams would go on to end the match after eliminate the other 4 entering tag teams. After a long final battle between the teams, Sasha was able to make Sonya tap out to the bank statement. This crowned Sasha Banks and Bayley as the first ever Women's Tag Team Champions. In 3rd place we have ranked Sasha Banks' first ever championship win in WWE as she won the NXT Women's Championship in February 2015 against her fellow 4 Horsewomen members Becky Lynch, Bayley and Charlotte Flair. This was a hard-hitting match, the likes that we had never seen before in WWE. With nice big moves, dives and submissions. It was Sasha that was able to secure the win after turning a bank statement on Charlotte into a roll-up. Sasha Banks became the 3rd NXT Women's Champion and won the only ever 4 Horsewomen match. This match made the fans realize that we were about to see a new era in women's wrestling and these 4 women were going to lead it. We definitely think a 4 Horsewomen rematch would be a WrestleMania main event that we would like to see in the next few years before one of the women retires or heads to Hollywood. 2nd place we have ranked Sasha Banks' first ever SmackDown Women's Championship victory against Bayley inside Hell in a Cell at the 2020 pay-per-view. We recently did a video ranking Sasha Banks' greatest matches where we may have ranked this match very high. You can find the description in the link below to find out. The 4-year partnership between Sasha Banks and Bayley came to an end 1 month before this match after Bayley turned on Sasha after losing the women's tag team titles. To settle the feud, WWE put the 2 inside Hell in a Cell, which was Sasha's 3rd trip inside after battling the other 2 4 Horsewomen members Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch in previous years. This match was great. It saw good wrestling while using kendo sticks, tables, ladders and chairs, and spray paint for some reason. The 2 were able to do some creative spots while using these weapons. The match also saw great storytelling which reflected back on the history of the Bayley vs Sasha feud. The ending saw Sasha trap Bayley in a chair while applying the bank statement which led to Bayley tapping out. This led to Sasha's first Hell in a Cell win, her first SmackDown Women's title reign, her best championship reign, and possibly her best match of her career. 1st place we have ranked Sasha Banks' first ever Raw Women's Championship victory against Charlotte Flair in 2016. For the past year we had seen WWE push Charlotte as the top women in the company, which was clear at WrestleMania 32 when Charlotte defeated Sasha and Becky for the newly introduced Women's Championship. This match took place on the first Raw episode following the WWE draft which had just been reintroduced. The tagline given to Raw was "This was a new era," which was seen when Sasha defeated Charlotte for the title. This match was the first ever main roster 1v1 title match between Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair as the 2 set the standard for what their feud would become. We saw the 2 execute excellent wrestling and submission moves. Sasha pulled an Eddie Guerrero trick to get rid of Dana Brooke who was helping Charlotte. There was a rather scary moment when Sasha nearly landed on her neck after diving out the ring on Charlotte. After Charlotte told Sasha that she would never beat her, she did with a bank statement. Sasha won her first ever main roster championship in an incredible Raw moment. And that's our list. As seen, Sasha has had some of the biggest female matches in WWE history and has been able to defeat many of the biggest female stars in the company on big occasions. In our opinion, Sasha Banks is the best wrestler currently in WWE while being the best female wrestler in the world. The longer Sasha continues avoid the temptation to head to Hollywood, the more matches we will see on this list in the future. You can check out our other videos in the description, such as Sasha Banks' greatest matches, Sasha Banks' greatest WrestleMania matches, the greatest women's WrestleMania matches, or our recent video ranking every WrestleMania 38 match. If you enjoyed, please like the video and subscribe. Feel free to let us know if we left out a match that should have been on this list. Feel free to give us a follow on Twitter as well. We hope to see you again, and thanks for watching.